Hi there, and it is 10 to 7 in state-controlled Britain. And although I'm looking very tired because I'm still looking after my dog, lovely Rupert, I just thought it'd be interesting to quickly look at the new FDA guidelines, which are incredible. This is impromptu, so I'm not expecting many questions, if any. But I just thought it's pretty exciting to have a look at this new flipped-over food pyramid, which I think it's amazing to see a steak and cheese and chicken and ground beef, salmon and eggs and yogurt and whole milk. Look at that, canned fish and shrimp. Yes, I'm ignoring over the other side a little bit, but this is such an improvement. It's a stepping stone to it being even better. There are some big highlights there. I genuinely haven't had a chance to read it myself. I've literally just come from my common sense school meeting, and I thought it would be because there was a couple of things about this, I thought it'd be a good idea to have a look at it together. So, I mean, firstly, that is amazing, isn't it? You know, that food pyramid is beginning to look a bit better. Right down the bottom of the whole grains, isn't that nice to see? I mean, I'll cut to the chase on the highlights. I mean, I think sugar has been cut for children from 10% to 2%. There are some things that don't add up. There are some maths where they don't want you to think that saturated fat is they didn't want it to be so prominent talking about saturated fat because they felt that was too big a leap. But let's have a look at what we've got in the food guidelines, because hopefully people will see this actually and not really look at the facts and figures and do any calculations about, is this possible to have this percentage of this and this percentage of that? So this genuinely is the first time I've seen this, and you know, I think what I do is it's about eating real food again. So I mean, that is a great message. I'm not saying this is the panacea; it's the best thing since since sliced bread, as they say. But it is nice to actually see some real action, some real changes. So let's have a look at the sort of headline stuff. Let's get that over there. So you're not seeing basically my ear or my hearing aids all the time. So what are the main things? So the first page would obviously be the thing that they want you to take notice of the most. So eat the right amount for you. Now, does that fit with the carnivore way? Yeah, it does actually. We don't talk about calories, but we do talk about eating the right amount. So don't undereat. That is good. Hydration is a key factor. Choose water and unsweetened beverages. Okay, so that's good as well. Just ignore the calories stuff. If you just take out the word calories and just put mass of food or how much you eat, I think that's really good. But prioritizing protein at every meal is exceptionally good to see. I think that's a really good thing to have second in the PDF that they've released. Prioritize high quality, nutrient dense protein foods as part of your healthy diet pattern. Well, I think that sits very well with carnivore, which is good. Consume a variety of protein foods from animal sources, yay, including eggs, poultry, seafood, and red meat. Red meat's mentioned, that's good, as well as a variety of, well, we don't need to talk about the rest there. Swap deep fried cooking methods with baked, broiled, roasted, stir fried, or grilled cooking methods. Consume meat with no or limited added sugars. Yes, that's good. No refined carbohydrates or starches or chemical additives. Flavor with salt, spices, and herbs. So this isn't too bad. I mean, this is my knee-jerk reaction to it, and I think it's pretty good so far. Protein serving goals: 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day, which needs adjusting based on your individual food and nutritional requirements. So that's what I would have written. But I'm already quite impressed so far. It's not bad so far. When consuming dairy, include full fat dairy. That's excellent to see, with no added sugars. Dairy is an excellent source of protein, healthy fats, vitamins, and minerals. Don't forget, some people can't tolerate dairy, but I would say that it's not bad. It's not a bad start. Daily serving goals: 3 servings per day as part of a 2,000 calorie. Well, I don't want to get into that. Eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full is the easiest thing, but we don't really need guidelines. That's so obvious. You eat when you're hungry, you stop when you're full. And then there's a little bit of stuff about the gut health, which is good. Now, this bit, like I say, I have not seen this, so this bit is not great. Eat fruit and veg throughout the day. I don't. Why would you need to do that? 100% fruit or vegetable juice should be consumed in limited portions or diluted with water. So I think that's alluding to the fact that, for instance, with veg, when it's liquidized, you're concentrating some of those anti-nutrients, and the same with fruit. You are able to consume so much more sugar in fruit. So I think that's where that's coming from. The rest I don't really think is that interesting, but if we get into incorporate healthy fats are plentiful in many whole foods such as meat, poultry, eggs, omega-3 rich seafoods. So again, not bad. Full fat dairy gets mentioned. Now, this is one of the anomalies, by the way. In general, saturated fat consumption should not exceed 10% of daily total calories. And I think this is something to do with, Nina Teichel at the she was part of the Make America Healthy Again group. She's worked so hard on this. And I think when we were in some of the group meetings, they were hoping it might be a bit better than this, what they're saying. But my best guess would be that it was too big a reach to actually bump up that that recommendation, because then you're dealing with people like Harvard and Nestle and all that, people with a lot of clout. But still, that's better than it has been. It's not ruled out. But I think when you look at 10% and then later some of the calculations, you can't get the numbers to marry up. Sadly, still talking about prioritize fiber-rich whole grains. Not that great. Limit highly processed foods, added sugars, refined carbohydrates. So I think that's quite good. I think that is getting there. I mean, my gut feeling, like I say, is that this is a stepping stone and it's beginning to get where it should be. And some of the pushback that we're getting in this space might be slightly dampened by it. I think that brilliant graphic at the beginning where they flipped the food pyramid, basically, I think that's going to be powerful enough for a lot of people, because images, a picture paints 1,000 words. And then it's a little bit about added sugars. Right, limit alcoholic beverages. And then we've got stuff about salt as well. So this is good advice. I don't drink, so it's never that much of an issue for me to limit alcohol because I don't drink it. But it's that's there. It doesn't mean people are going to follow it, does it? But let's just have a look. Saying full fat dairy is great. Maybe we can. Oh, so yes, Oaktown Girl. Thank you for the comment. That's good. Saying full fat dairy is great. Maybe we can get the low fat and skim milk out of the schools. Kids need animal fat for proper brain development. You see, that's fantastic. Thank you for that comment. Like I say, this is a knee-jerk sort of just quick impromptu thing. I absolutely agree. But I also feel there is something about the school milk in the States in particular, maybe in the UK, where even the milk is chocolate flavored or strawberry flavored. So, yeah, that's a great comment. Thank you for that. That's really good. Oaktown Girl. So I think what we're looking at is a step in the right direction. I'm not an expert in infancy and early childhood, and there's a lot of words there for an impromptu video, and I don't want to bore you, but it's just basically a video of me reading a PDF. But I think I'll look at that at some point, and we'll basically do a video and comment on that as well. I think the one thing that does actually jump out is they're saying to continue to feed your baby with only breast milk. So there I am saying I'm going to skim over this. Well, breast milk, you can't get better. It's the way to feed your baby. And also, we now know that a lot of your immune system and things that you need are contained in the breast milk and transferred from the mother to the baby. So it's great to see that it's getting mentioned there. So I'm quite happy with that. And actually using the proper term breastfeeding. Yeah, so there's no sort of strange terminology that doesn't sit well with me. And anyway, and then introducing food to children. I think this is going to be good. Again, we're looking at focusing on nutrient-dense foods such as protein foods and dairy. That's in there. Full-fat dairy, as we just said, that seems to be good. And then from ages 11 to 18, you know, enough protein again, calcium and iron. One of the things that's good about the red meat and animal products is iron. The heme version of iron is what we need. We need a heme version. So iron from animal products is heme and bioavailable, whereas if you get your iron from plants, it's non-heme iron. It needs a lot of vitamin C to be converted to heme iron. There's a thing called the vitamin C ferroreductase, and that's why you get the thing where when you need iron, you need a lot of vitamin C. But that's only true if you're eating lots of plants. If you're eating animal iron, you don't need lots of vitamin C. So this is pretty good, telling you you need protein, calcium, and iron, especially girls. Adequate calcium and vitamin D. So this is pretty good, I think. Limiting sugary drinks and energy drinks and avoiding highly processed foods, which is a message that's coming across consistently. That's really excellent. Let's have a look at the next thing. Is it real food or duck food? Well, it's going to be real food, isn't it? And Andrew. Oh, was it Andrew? No carb Barb. Oh, no carb Barb. Hello. Excellent. Hi, Stephen. Got a chance to stop by. Thank you very much. And ringtone David B 9967. Hi, Stephen. Good work. Thank you very much. That's very much appreciated. So I think in all, I'm pretty confident that this is going to be all right. And then they obviously have got this thing about individuals with chronic disease. And I think it's going to be more of the same. So we've got to the end there, which is not bad. I think if we can get back to the cover and then maybe a little bit more comment for you. But, you know, that is good to see, isn't it? I think we'll all be really pleased to see the food guidelines, the food pyramid flipped, which one of the comedy shows in America, I think it was South Park, did it very tongue-in-cheek. But there you are. I think that is definitely a step in the right direction. Really do. So I'm really happy with that. I'm just so happy. Oh, hang on a minute. It's gone all big on my screen, which means it doesn't look good. So, yeah, that's good. Who we got here? Oaktown go. Yeah, sneak listening from work, but I have to go now. Thanks for covering it. That's okay. I thought it was worth a quick look because it's just a great thing. Also, the low carb diet will be included as an option, which is just amazing, isn't it? So that's my background is I'm a specialist practitioner in obesity and diabetes. And it was always difficult to talk about low carb because it wasn't offered as an option. And it actually specifically mentions those two types, I should say, obesity and diabetes. And even it says possible other metabolic diseases, that low carbohydrate diets will be included as a possible option. So that is brilliant. I think that's one of the best things that's come out of this. The limit for sugar, from 10% for children down to 2%. Hopefully people will listen to that advice and stop feeding their kids so much sugar. And now it's those that, you know, do the appeal to authority will lose a little bit of power, which is great. So let's have a look here. I've got another question. Cybe1111. I legit thought someone was trying to troll me when I saw the pyramid picture. Then I found out it was real. It is a step in the right direction, but we still have a long way to go. Love from Oregon. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for watching in Oregon. And you're right. I mean, it is beautifully done as well. So I also like the subtle. It is known that even with images, not just text, in the modern world, most people read things from left to right. So to have the steak and the salmon and the cheese and the chicken and the dairy and the egg on the left-hand side, I think is good. I think it could be a very subtle thing they've done there, which I really like. Because if you look at this first, see what I would be tempted to do. I think you can see my you can see my mouse there. I think I'd be tempted to do a sub triangle, where I'd start up here in the top left hand corner and go down to the shrimp, and then go up through, keeping the milk in and the chicken, and doing a little sort of golden triangle within a triangle. That's what I would do anyway. Must be a lot of work getting information out there. Appreciate you. Well, thank you. That's nice. I was just to be honest, I was in my Common Sense Carnivore group and somebody mentioned it, and we had a quick talk there, and I thought, well, I'm in my room, I've got my lights on, I've got my camera on. Why don't we quickly look at this PDF and see what is problematic? We were talking about the fact that, there is a little bit of things where the maths don't quite add up. That's not a big problem for me, because that alone, just having that food pyramid, is just, as you can tell, I'm quite excited. I think this is fantastic. And I do think it's quite smart to maybe not push the saturated fat so much at this point, because that, without a shadow of a doubt, would have been the new story. I do think sometimes you really want to change everything, but you have to be a little bit cute and smart about it before you do that. So I think they've done, I mean, whatever you think of Robert Kennedy Jr., he is a smart cookie. He's been around the block and he knows how these things work. So I think I'm going to trust him. It is disappointing. Yes, it definitely is disappointing. But, butter getting in the recommendations is good. Now, some people will say that, steak isn't as back as it should be, but I think it is. If you look at the image, I think the image is going to be the key. I think it's going to be very helpful. And yes, people that are anti-carnivore, anti-animal products will go through that PDF and do exactly what I did and just highlight all the stuff about fruit and veg. But that's not my audience. And I think that's the thing. We should look at the image and we could say, yep, step in the right direction. Because if I was able to pull up the old food pyramid that it's replaced, all you would say is, well, yep, that is an improvement. So, and it's a big one. The fact we're talking about protein so much is really good. So I think when it's, without getting too nuanced, from what I can tell from a quick reading and the quick chat we had in the group, the protein with saturated fat, if they're going to cap saturated fat 10% of total food coming in, then it's difficult to get to the levels with steak and stuff like that. But I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. I just feel people aren't that nuanced in general. I think if they just see that food pyramid. So there you go. I think that's my thoughts. I will do a Substack article about it with a little bit more nuance. I was quite keen if people want to say stuff. Let's have a look in the chat here. The Feral Grandma. Hello. Yes. Excited to see the golden triangle. Lisa, yes. You see that now, this has come off the top of my head as we're talking, but I do think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that food pyramid and then I'm going to introduce and overlay that golden triangle there. That's definitely happening, I tell you. And we'll say, that's what we should be doing in this space, and it's come from the Dietary Guidelines for Americans. The thing is, now I'm in the UK, as you know, I'm in state-controlled Britain. I will be keen to see what happens. And in my group, I've got the wonderful Cami. She's not here, I think. And she's in, I do apologize, Cami. I think you said Sweden. And her food guidelines in her country are plant-based still and predominantly anti-protein. I think their maximum protein over a week is 350 grams for the week, which is terrible. So, yay, the Americans might be trend-setting in this way of eating. Isn't that exciting? I think that's absolutely brilliant. We could, I suppose, scan the internet while we're here, and let's have a look at some comments on the 2026 FDA food guidelines. So this really is impromptu. You can see the top of my head. By the way, I've released some archive videos in my Common Sense group, and from 6 years ago. And I just want to say, when I did the old videos, I never used to dye my hair grey at the front. So anyway, right. So this is AI. This is Gemini, I think. I've just done it on Google. What are they saying? Themes, key themes for comments. Support for public health groups. Many comments express strong support for rules designed to combat obesity and diet-related chronic diseases, such as the updated healthy labelling criteria. Well, obviously, we didn't cover that. The new dietary guidelines encourage less processed foods and sugar while promoting more protein, dairy, and healthy fats like beef tallow and butter. Now, that is amazing, isn't it? I think I should screen share that if I can. So let me just do that. Stop the food guideline, and then let's just get the Gemini thing up, which I think is pretty interesting. And the reason I'm doing this is because I would imagine that this is going to be reprogrammed to not put this recommendation front and center. So let's do it now. So I've just done this on the food guidelines, and here it is in the middle. The new dietary guidelines encourage less processed foods and sugars while promoting more protein, dairy, and healthy fats like beef, tallow, and butter. Yes, you see, this has led to discussions about the scientific basis for specific nutrient limits and requests for different frameworks for defining terms like ultra-processed foods. So I am going to screenshot that genuinely because, although I've got it on this video, I think that will be changed. I think when you go onto AI, that won't come up. That is just the way I am. To be honest, I'm very skeptical about the whole thing. So I think that's that. I am going to let's have a look. Phase. Oh, this will please. This bottom one here will please Judy Cho, who I was on her show recently. I don't think she's released it yet, but I was thanking her for doing all her work on food dyes and all those other things, which I think we often forget. Partly why I started my Common Sense group is because I want to talk about other things, not just diet, things like chronic inflammatory response syndrome and light and dark and cold therapy and contrast therapy and all that. And one of those things is getting dyes out of food, which is amazing. And also the way they label foods that have got insects in there. I think that is... It needs to be more transparent. I can't remember what the numbers are, but it's like having an E number, but essentially it means we've got insects in here. So this is good, this phase out synthetic dyes. I think that's really good. Deeper dive in AI mode. Let's click that button in real time then, and let's see what it's saying, because I think this is going to be good. The new visual guidance, it's saying the war on processed foods. I think we agree with that, definitely. New visual guidance, the traditional My Plate and the older food pyramid have been replaced by it actually says it, inverted food pyramid. And the new model prioritizes fruits, vegetables, and proteins, while specifically encouraging healthy fats like beef tallow, butter, and olive oil. So I notice here already prioritizing fruits, vegetables, and proteins. Now, if you look at the original food triangle that they've done, when I just mentioned the golden triangle, why have they said fruit and veg? It doesn't say that. It's also saying steak and cheese and ground beef and salmon. But anyway, this is why we need to be careful, and this is why I'm doing this live, because I want to see what happens. So again, the synthetic dye phase out, which is very good. Healthy labeling, which I think will always be problematic, the labeling, because they work on false premises. So let's get rid of that. Let's remove that from the screen, and let's go back to what I was saying about the food triangle, the inverted triangle, so people get what I mean. When we look at that, hopefully it will show up on the screen. We can see, can't we, that isn't saying fruit and veg is a priority. This whole thing here. So they should have said meat, cheese, chicken, ground beef. Anyway, I know we were looking at AI, and all that stuff. And Gaza is in the room. Hi, all. That's nice to see you. Thank you for joining an impromptu to talk about this wonderfully inverted food pyramid, which seems to be going the right way. I can't believe it. I'm absolutely, genuinely quite excited by it. So that was on Gemini. Let's have a look. I tell you what we should do. We should look at ChatGPT. So let's do that. So like comments on the 2026 new FDA food guidelines. Let's see what they say about it. See how they're promoting it. By the way, if I'm looking tired, it's because my dog was at the vet yesterday and going back tomorrow, and it's been very difficult to relax with all the problems with Rupert after his vicious attack 3 weeks ago. But we're getting there. It's very slow, but I will read it to you because it's sort of typing it out slowly, like in the old days. When you had modems making screaming noises. So I'll just read it to you. So the first thing that ChatGPT is commenting on, my question, by the way, just so you know it wasn't loaded, I've just put comments on the 2026 new FDA food guidelines. And they say a strong shift away from processed foods. That's their first highlight. I think it's catching up now. So I will share the screen. Let's take that off. And let's get rid of that. And let's add the ChatGPT screen if we can. Don't know if we can while it's still typing out. I think we can. Let's have a look at this. Right. Is it coming up? Yes, there you go. So it's typing. Let's have a look. So yes. Strong shift away from processed foods. For the first time, the guidelines name and shame highly processed foods. So that's a new thing that we haven't heard. Let's get rid of Gaza's comments. Oxalate Warrior. Do you have a vested interest? Now the government just needs to learn about plant toxins. Yes. I'm wondering if you're thinking about oxalates there. Don't know. The clue's probably in the name. Gov can say the water is wet. I would not believe them. Yes. Absolutely. All right, let's have a look. Let's get back to what ChatGPT is saying. So, strong shift away from processed foods and naming and shaming the highly processed foods. Americans are now explicitly advised to avoid packaged snacks, processed meats, sweetened beverages, and any food high in sugar or sodium. Well, okay. Yeah, well, I'm not anti-sodium. As you know, more protein and real dairy encouraged. There's now an increased recommendation for daily protein, which is good news for anyone following a carnivore, ketogenic, or simply high protein approach. That's actually in ChatGPT. Wow. I'm a bit surprised about that. Quality is stressed. Emphasis is placed on sources such as lean meats, fish, eggs, dairy, and minimally processed plant proteins. So I think that's in the right order there. Lean meats. Well, I wouldn't say lean meats, but anyway, it's a step in the right direction. Notably, dairy is highlighted as healthful. This is true English because foods aren't healthy; they are healthful. But so that's good, rather than something to limit. Now, I know that some people have problems with dairy. All right, so I get that, and the supposed dangers of full-fat versions has been softened in favour of considerations about food quality and nutrient density. So I think that's pretty good. Gut health finally gets a starring role. Yes, they do talk about the gut microbiome, which we've seen. Limiting sugars and sodium. Sugars, yes. Sodium, I still think that we need to think about that in a different way. And labeling comes on. So many people, look, it says common sense perspective. So these guidelines represent, on paper at least, the big step in the right direction. More focus on real food, recognizing the dangers of ultra-processed food environments and supporting higher protein, lower sugar diets. For anyone following a low-carb, ketogenic, or carnivore diet, you'll find more common ground with the official guidelines than you would have even 5 years ago. However, normative ranges, outdated dietary dogma, and lagging implementation mean the population-level impact will depend on how these guidelines are translated into schools, healthcare advice, and food industry reformulation. Labs and policymakers often change their tune years after science and clinical experience I've moved on. So critical, joined up thinking and personalization remain the key. Well, I would have to say I'm actually really surprised about that ChatGPT could be, reasonably okay. So, right. Let's have a look. I'm being really dense. Oh, yes. Right. Oxalate Warrior. Oh, Cybe 111. What? Oxalate Warrior, 100% agree on that. They also need to get rid of the C word. Yes, calories. But people understand it. I am not going to knock it too much because I'm at the moment thinking it's quite a good start. No one should ever eat duck food from Rick. Absolutely bang on, mate. This is a no carb barb. This is a great start, but don't think we'll ever convince the government to recommend anything near carnivore or ketovore diets. Too much money involved. And Captain Jacked Pickle, is there really anything new to these guidelines? Yes, I think it is a step in the right direction. I really do. And like I say, I think you've only got to look at the actual triangle, the food pyramid, or the inverted food pyramid. Captain Jacked Pickle. I think you like it. I think it is new. I think this is. But maybe you're saying, is there anything new? As in, is it news to us in this community that these things are good? Well, possibly not. I think. I do think that this is just a great idea, and hopefully people will see that it's a step in the right direction. Yeah, yes. So that's that. And Rick is saying it is up to us to find what diet is best. We try it and observe the results. Yes. What better way is there to test something than to do it yourself? And if you get the result that you want, you think, well, this is what I'm going to do forever. This seems to work. And then a year later, your palate might change, your situation might change, your health might change. You might take something out and realize, hey, actually, I didn't realize I could feel even better. So Jane took out the dairy. So we talk about dairy, although it's been included. I would say the fact it's full fat dairy is good. And yes, you could go even more nuanced, and you could talk about pasteurized against, raw, and you could talk about A1 and A2, but that's not going to be helpful for the general population. I would still much rather a small change like a full fat yogurt compared to one that's full of sugar, and full of gunk. So I think that's it. And the more people do that and they feel healthier, they might actually lose their fear of fat. And it has definitely explicitly mentioned beef and tallow and butter in those guidelines. So I also think that's really good. So anyway, that's my impromptu. I haven't got any questions, which I sort of was expecting, but there it is, the inverted food guidelines in an impromptu live. It's taken me about 30 minutes to tell you how excited I am that it's finally out. Maybe it's just the beginning of a fantastic journey for everybody eating properly. Hope you enjoyed this. And if you didn't get a notification, don't worry. I literally just did this impromptu, but I do appreciate that you're here. And I'm quite surprised how many people are actually watching. I will do a Substack about this. You can read my Substack at the ukcarnivore.substack.com, where today I wrote about platelets, if you're interested. And the platelets in your, because I know a lot about bloods. That's one of my expertise areas, where I spent 10 years doing blood testing and working in a private blood testing lab. And platelets, I was telling people that they're more than just clotting factors, or part of the clotting cascade. I think I know they deliver serotonin, for instance. So I really like that people can get into the weeds and learn a bit more about bloods, and that's the sort of thing I do. I just talk about it in plain English. So anyway, drop a like. That's what I was going to say. I think I'm shadow banned on YouTube. If you didn't get notification, normally I do these things in advance. If you don't get a notification, make sure you are clicking that bell to get the notifications. Make sure that you subscribe. It helps the channel. Drop a comment. love to know what you think of the guidelines. And is there one thing that you'd really like added that wasn't? Is there something you think they're still too soft on? I didn't do the no carb barb, says Nina Tai Chow. Must be pleased about this. I would imagine I was very lucky to be part of that Make America Healthy group, and we did some meetings where I just sat. I didn't really contribute because there were some big hitters in there, and they obviously get the airtime, which is fair enough. I think she'll be reasonably happy, but I think she'll be very unhappy about the saturated fat, because I think she'll see it how I saw it and how we talked about it in my Common Sense Carnivore group. Link in the description. Eventually, I'll put a link in the description if you want to join it. Actually, I'll put a link in the chat now if you want to join it. Yeah, it's really quite frustrating. She's probably a bit unhappy about the saturated fat thing. That's what I would think, because it's difficult to cross the I's and dot the T's when you look at the numbers into how you can do this 10% cap. But anyway, I can't speak for her. If you want to join my school, by the way, where we have meetings 3 times a week, you can join that group there. I think there's about 250 members now. So, and we talk common sense. And like I say, I just come from a meeting where it was raised and talked about, actually. The first thing we talked about was blood testing and how the ranges. So the normative ranges, they're rubbish. I had a client and we did the bloods for 6 months ago and then now, and her health has not changed. It's great. It's fantastic. She's thriving. But what the labs had done is they'd changed the ranges. So she had a couple of things with a little red flag saying this is bad. So it's all about interpretation and reading them, not just looking at a red flag and thinking, well, that's out of range now. So you've got to be on your game with the bloods. And also there is a there is a court case where one of the labs were changing their ranges at the behest of a big client that sent a lot of business their way, and they changed the ranges to be able to include more people in the recommendations, which is quite frightening. I might do a video about that, but I think as it's a big court case, I need to be careful. But I think it's all resolved and the verdict was done. But anyway, we do need to be careful of what is going on. We need to look at the optimal ranges and make sure that we're not using the normative ranges and thinking that they are optimal ranges. We need to think about what is working for us. So some people they operate a slightly higher blood glucose, but it's absolutely fine. We tend to find if it's under 127 milligrams per deciliter, you're not eliciting the polyol pathway. So don't forget, I did proper research in this, so I know how all these things work. And so 127 milligrams per deciliter, 7 millimoles per liter, that is about the top you want your blood glucose to be. If it's around 115, 110, that's okay. If that's the average, if you've got an average of 100, if it's 150, then it's down to 50, then it's up to 150 and down to 50. That average is 100. But that's no good, because you're going into these bigger ranges, and that could be even momentarily. And I've just got a message. The CNN article in this is illuminating. Well, if you could put a link in your, I would have a look at that live, actually. You might have a look in a minute. And going back, and then you could have another person with an average of 100, and it's 105, 95, 105, 95. Tends to be what I see with carnivores and keto. Well, that's a completely different situation. You're never spiking your insulin. It's the law of small numbers, as Dr. Bernstein said when the fantastic book about the diabetes revolution, I think he called it. I might go online, actually, dom-de-dom, and just see what they're saying at CNN. Yes, CNN. Let's have a look. CNN food guidelines. Let's do this really live. Sorry, you can still see the top of my head. By the way, my 23andMe, my genetics, apparently, I'm 61 now. I should be bald, apparently, according to my genetics. And I should also not thrive on red meat, according to my genetics. The guideline, so yes, CNN, what it's saying here, urge less sugar, more protein. The guidelines emphasize eating whole foods in their original form, but also say frozen, dried, or canned vegetables or fruits with no or very limited sugars can also be good options. The latest update will include images of the inverted pyramid, flipping long-standing visuals of the American diet. Ah, yes. So thank you for that tip. Here are the good and bad ultra-processed foods. Oh, no, that's old news. We don't want that one. So that was August 2025. So maybe they was ahead of the curve there. Oh, no, it's CNN, so it wouldn't be, would it? Let's have a look. So that's the latest from them. Let's have a look. If I click on them, I might be able to get this. Yeah, let's have a look. See if it's interesting. I don't know. I'm not a fan of CNN. You probably guessed that. But let's get rid of the inverted thing. Let's get rid of that share. Let's just put that up. I'd like the link to the thing you think is illuminating. So let's have a look. Let's do this. Let's quick look at this. I was going to go, but it could be interesting. So let's have a look. The new US dietary guidelines released Wednesday echo past advice, but also include nods to US Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Make America Healthy Again movement. My message is clear: eat real food. Well, we knew that. The new recommendations from HHS and the US Department of Agriculture fulfill Kennedy's promise. The latest update includes images of the inverted pyramid that puts meats, cheese, and vegetables in the widest part at the top, flipping a long-standing visual. Now, quite happy with that. The officials say that following the guidance can help prevent the onset of slow the rate of progression of chronic disease, a tentpole topic of the Make America Healthy Again movement. Yes, and rightly so it should. The American Heart Association said it commends the emphasis on eating more vegetables, fruits, and whole grains while limiting consumption of added sugars, refined grains, wholly processed foods, saturated fats, sugary drinks. Well, it doesn't actually. It does. It includes a little bit of an increase in saturated fats, but okay. I like the way they cherry pick, even with this. So this is my real reaction. Quite disappointed, but there you go. They focused on the things that you would expect, because the American Heart Association is just bought and paid for. Pending that research, we encourage consumers to prioritize plant-based proteins, seafood, and lean meats, and to limit high-fat animal products, including red meat, butter, lard, and tallow. Well, see, they're going exactly against the guidelines straight away. So there we go. What did you expect? Straight away, sort of misreporting what's in there, quoting some other authority that is bought and paid for. And a question here from Spare Eyebrows. Hello. Do the guidelines categorical bread with chocolate bars and lollies? I don't know. I haven't had a chance to actually read the guidelines, but I would hope they do. I know what you're saying, because we're just talking about all carbohydrates break down to sugar. So yeah, let's hope they did do that. Anyway, I think I'm going to go now, because it was impromptu. Wasn't expecting to do this. Hopefully you enjoyed it, looking at the food guidelines, and I will see you soon. I'm doing 2 lives tomorrow, one at 3 p.m. I think with Stephanie Taylor, and one at I think it's 6 p.m. with Jonathan Carnivore Muscle. So hopefully see you there. Right, brilliant. Yes, bigger. Yes, that's right. Sorry, last message come in. Thinking CNN has any remaining credibility is a mistake. Yeah. Oh, yes. No, I'm not a fan, but I thought, as someone mentioned it, I would live have a look and be fair. But there you go. They immediately went to the American Heart Association, who are not. Anyway, right, let's end this, and hopefully I will see you on my next lives. Don't forget, as always, State Control Britain, 6:30 p.m. on Sunday. I've got Lee Copers with me doing my live Q&A then, which I've been doing for years. All right, cheers, bye.